Thank you to you too.
Oh, okay, okay.
Crazy. So exciting.
When I actually go up this and I push it,
Yes. Mhm.
and you have
please join with Chazan Ben Yehuda as we sing our national anthem and Hatikvah.
Can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed, and the twilight's last gleaming, whose bright stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we walked were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Oh,
Thank you, Troop 61. You guys are awesome. You have such a long history here. We appreciate your presence today. You guys can have a seat, and everybody may be seated.
Yeah. We're just going to take a moment to get the technology right. One of the blessings and many lessons we've learned in the pandemic. We have a mute button box. So give us just a second, we'll get it straightened out.
Jason, how about you say something and...
Okay, I'm just gonna say any number of things.
Okay.
So for our audience that's here, I just personally want to say thanks for coming. The ability to be together is really a blessing in and of itself. And I think we've learned that more so in these last 18 months than ever before. And I have to share with you, yesterday at Shabbat morning services, one of our former regulars came for the first time, and I had this experience a couple of weeks ago as well. And when that regular who hadn't been with us in the building came back, it was like the Beatles landing in New York City. Maybe a slight exaggeration, but there was this feeling of connection that is just so much better in person than on Zoom. And watching him walk in, and the fist bumps and the high fives and the arm bumps really served to uplift us all even beyond the Shabbat morning services, which they naturally do. So I'm just putting in a plug now, that if you feel safe, we're trying to make this as safe a Shabbat morning experience as possible. We hope to soon create again a safe daily minyan scenario. Being in person matters. And the sanctuary that we're going to break the ground on today, and God willing finish in the next year and a half or so, is just going to be an extension of that feeling, that place of where we can all come together. So I encourage you to start practicing now, and come as often as you feel comfortable. So now that I've said something, I want to say something. And that's that of all the things that you learn as a synagogue president, the fastest and the biggest lesson you learn is that really your role means nothing if it weren't for all the people that came before you. And never has that been as apparent to me as it is today and at this moment. I'm just incredibly fortunate and incredibly honored to be the one, as president of Congregation Beth Shalom, to be standing here before you. But as you're about to see in our program today, we're here today because of the vision, the passion, and the commitment of so many leaders, and because of the hundreds of you in this wonderful community. We're here today preparing to break ground and begin to write the next chapter of our story, of our together story. I grew up in Kansas City, but not as a congregant of Congregation Beth Shalom, and yet I've always felt in so many meaningful ways that I was a product of Beth Shalom. You won't find my picture in the halls downstairs with my classmates. Thankfully, you won't see my 80s mullet. But when I walk these halls as a lifelong Kansas Citian who's been engaged in Jewish life, I realize that I'm the beneficiary of what the leaders of this synagogue have made in terms of an impact on our community. I'm both an alum and a parent of kids at our community day school. I've been involved, as many of us have, as participants and leaders in organizations in Kansas City that have been impacted by the leadership of the Beth Shalom community. One of the things that I do as I'm lost in my thoughts during services here in Goldsmith Hall is I sometimes flip through the pages of the Siddur, maybe a little bit ahead, maybe not tracking on the service entirely, with my apologies to our wonderful clergy. But I was sitting here contemplating how different that exact experience will be, maybe 18 months from now. And I came across a teaching in Pirkei Avot. You can check me on this, it's on page 274. It describes 4 types of people who give tzedakah, only one of which is described as saintly. The teaching reads this: saintly are those who want to give and also want others to give. The names from this Beth Shalom community, Haddis, Brand, Soslan, Margulies, Goldsmith, Polsky, and so many others, these names have made a Kansas City Jewish life that is vibrant. And for our community at Beth Shalom, it's an enduring and lasting legacy of a model for giving and encouraging others to give as well. These leaders inspired me, as they've inspired so many others, to give their time and their resources. They inspired me from the time I was young as many of the children that you're going to hear from today. But these leaders didn't just inspire us, they actually committed to creating the environment for generations of Jewish Kansas Cityans to grow up knowledgeable and confident that our Jewish values are worth carrying out into the world. I remember from the time that I was very young, sitting in a sanctuary with my parents and grandparents, aunts and uncles and cousins. And I remember it always feeling special. And I went week after week, but it always felt special because my family was there and it felt like an extended family was with me. Looking at whether it was my dad or my mom up on the bima or their friends, I felt this sense of awe, this awe for what they were doing, for what it meant to come together, and at the same time, this amazing sense of comfort that came from being in that special place, in that sacred space, and in the one we're about to build. Our community has committed to building that environment. We'll celebrate and we'll pray. We'll take sanctuary from the world around us that sometimes is hard to understand. But in that sanctuary, we will feel that feeling that we feel when we come together, just as we're about to on Thanksgiving. We'll feel that feeling of home, that special place. Of all those things that I'm grateful for, I'm particularly grateful for what we're about to dedicate today. That we will have here at Beth Shalom, a sacred sanctuary where we will feel joyful, comfortable, uplifted, happy to be together in a most special place, a place that will feel like home. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. And I want to invite the chair of our Sacred Space Steering Committee, who was asked for a short commitment and has given a major percentage of her life to this work, Gina Kaiser, to share with us the history of the street.
Thank you. Good morning. It is so gratifying to see all of you today. And I'm a little verklempt by all of this. About 8 years ago, I received what seemed like an innocuous phone call from Mike Abrams, who was then the president of the synagogue board. He asked me if I'd have breakfast with him. I agreed, and we met about a week later. He told me that he thought it was time for Beth Shalom to implement the plan to build a sacred space that had been made when we moved to Lamar. He asked if I would chair a committee to strategize about this matter and to explore all the possibilities. He said, quote, "I think it will take you no more than a year." I like Mike. He and I are friends. We're still friends. So I agreed to do it. A year-long project sounded easily doable. And here I am, 8 years later, still working on this project. Back. But to be serious, we have come so far, and we are in the home stretch. Thanks to the hard work of the many talented people who are listed in your program. Boy, I didn't think I was going to do this. Let me give you a little bit of history of the last 8 years that got us to this day. We began with a committee made up of the aforementioned Mike Abrams, Joel Goldman, Rabbi Glickman, Ron Goldsmith of blessed memory, who hated to get up early, but who endured years of 7:30 a.m. meetings, Alicia Klein, Bob Palin, and Josh Sosland, who thoughtfully brought us treats from Panera to put us all, especially Ronnie, in good spirits. We worked for about 2 years discussing what size the space should be, where we should build. That is, should we sell Lamar and build elsewhere? Should we share space with another shul or merge with one? We did a written survey. We did focus groups. And then we stopped for about a year to give us time to see where our membership would stabilize. When we started again, we decided to stay here at Lamar, and we reached an agreement on the size of the space that we wanted to build. Now we needed to find an architect and a general contractor. Alicia, Joel, and Bob rolled off the committee, and Jeff Alpert, Rita Cortez, and Marcia Carbat joined. We did an RFP to various architects. We conducted interviews, and we unanimously decided to hire Preston Scott Cohen and Partners to design the new space and BNIM to oversee the construction. We then interviewed general contractors, and we chose A.L. Huber. We hired an experienced owner's representative named John Almeida to oversee how the architects and the contractors spend our dollars so we can control costs. We have endured the COVID pandemic, during which we raised almost $13 million through the excellent leadership of Ron Kopaken and the able assistance of Jeffrey Byrne, Ellen Court, Barb Block, and Lisa Pulaski of Byrne Pulaski and Associates. Ron will speak in a moment about the fundraising efforts. But COVID-related delays meant COVID-related price increases of substantial amounts. So we have been value engineering. That means we redesigned and redesigned and redesigned and redesigned. And now we have a unique and breathtakingly beautiful building inside and out. The photo on the back of your program is a prototype. It's not completely finalized, but we're very close. Jeff Alpert, the chair of our construction committee, will talk shortly about the building process and what comes next. I am enormously proud of the work that everyone has done to bring this project to fruition. I'm grateful to the board for its support, to Steph Williams and the staff, to our 300 plus generous donors, among them the Soslin Foundation for its matching funds and for its dedication to the future of Beth Shalom, and to Mrs. Hannah Mae Krumholtz of blessed memory for the seed money of $1.5 million for this project. And I don't want to sound like it's the Academy Awards, but I have to thank my husband, David Gale, because throughout this 8 years, there have been times where I haven't been the easiest person to live with. And I probably won't be for the next couple of years. And he's supported me and endured all that, and I thank him. Finally, I've been honored to lead this effort and to see it become a reality. I do it in memory of my father, Bill Kaiser, who for many years was a dedicated Torah reader and Beth Shalom, and who touched the hearts of many of you. Thank you for this privilege.
You said it's not the Academy Award, but we do have a gift back for you. This is just a small token of our appreciation from we're not at the finish line yet. You don't have to give it back, but this is a small token of our appreciation for getting this far. And this is truly a Shechianu moment. I wouldn't dare undoing Ellen Schulten's handiwork that makes a bag even more beautiful than the product inside. But inside is a artistic rendition of the Shechianu blessing, which is recognizing when the Jewish people come to a meaningful moment. I'm going to give this to you, and I'm going to invite Colleen and the Chazan to come up and lead us all in Shechianu.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שהחיינו ותימנו והביאנו בזמן הזה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם
Thank you, Kazan. Thank you, Colleen. As Jason spoke about standing on the shoulders of the presidents and leaders that came before him, I often feel similarly, following in the footsteps of Rabbi Cohen, who helped build this building that we are in right now, Rabbi Margulies, who helped build our building at 95th Street in Wornall, and Rabbi Haddis, who helped build our building at 34th and Paseo. And Rabbi Cohen was really instrumental in envisioning coming out to the southern suburbs of Johnson County. And he has a beautiful message for us today that he recorded in Florida. And it also speaks in memory of Mrs. Krumholtz, whose generosity was really the beginning part of our fundraising efforts.
While previous commitments prevent Linda and me from celebrating with you in person today, I am grateful for the technology that enables me to share this simcha and say a few words about a very special person whose commitment to Beth Shalom is recognized today especially and will always therefore be in our minds and hearts. I am referring to Hannah Krumholtz. Since I moved to Florida over 9 years ago, I have had confirmed by my own eyes that Florida drivers are very unique and not always as careful as they should be. Perhaps that is due to the fact that so many of us are retirees who, now retired, should have less distractions, but are nevertheless not very careful. Hannah Krumholtz was one of those Florida drivers. I recall one incident about her driving at the Wornall site that required getting her car out of the ditch. However, that is not what I think of when I reflect on Hannah. I rather think about her love of our community and congregation. While Hannah didn't live in Kansas City during any of the 23 years that we did, she was always a part of our community and our congregation. Indeed, Beth Shalom was her congregation always. Anytime she visited Kansas City, Beth Shalom was a necessary stop. Memorial tablets for her family and George's were a prominent part of our history. Marking a yahrzeit here was always very important to her. But it wasn't only in Kansas City that Beth Shalom was near and dear to her. On several occasions, I traveled to South Florida during the winter to keep connections with Beth Shalom members who were seasonal residents of the Sunshine State. Hannah was always a part of that group and even hosted one such get-together. Because of her loyalty and love for Beth Shalom, I was not surprised when I heard that she wanted to dedicate a couple of Magen David Adom ambulances and that she wanted to do it at our Wornall site. Lamar was in the early design stages, and after the ambulance dedication, Hannah asked me to show her the building plans. As we viewed those plans and talked about the vision, she indicated a desire to have her family remembered in some way in the new Beth Shalom. She asked if the chapel had a donor, and when I indicated not yet, she told me it would be the perfect way to memorialize her family. A daily chapel by its very nature would be a constant source of living Judaism, which was central to her and her values. It has taken a few extra years to get to this sacred space. Hannah and George are no longer physically with us, but their presence and memory live on with this gift and dedication. I am sure Hannah would be thrilled that the Krumholtz family name will always be a part of Beth Shalom and that this space will inspire others as well. Thank you, Hannah, for being a part of the Beth Shalom family and its vision. May your name and that of your entire family always be for a blessing.
When we began this project, our tagline and slogan came from Parshat Truma in the book of Exodus, Yasuli Mikdash, V'shachanti betocha. Let them make for me a sanctuary, God says, so that I may dwell amongst them. This verse shows us that the Israelites who are doing the act of building, they are the ones who will actually become God's dwelling place. Not the building itself, but rather the builders. We see in this process of the energy used to build the tabernacle, the tent that was the locus of worship while we were wandering in the desert, as well as the construction of the temple by King Solomon, David's son and heir, is what brought holiness to the people. Yes, financial contributions were a part of this sacred project, but also important were the weavers, the wood carvers, the decorators, and for the dedication, all the people who came in to fill the great courtyard in the temple in Jerusalem. Our building that we are going to embark on today has in its DNA the involvement and participation of every member, family, friend, and guest of Beth Shalom. In some of the early architectural drawings, I nearly came to tears when I saw the blueprint-like digital renderings of the new ark that we are going to have. And in the ark, in front of the ark, is a diagram of a person in a wheelchair in front of the ark. And you can see all of the arrows and measurements and angles of the architect just to make sure that it is completely accessible for anyone, regardless of physical ability, to be able to approach the Holy Ark, to be able to open its curtain, to be able to kiss the Torah scroll, regardless of size, regardless of physical ability. For most of our Shabbatot, our reading table is going to be with the people in the center, surrounded by all of us. And when we need to expand for the high holidays, we will have a mezzanine instead of opening up to an additional social hall, because we are keeping physical distance close. We are keeping each other close to the action, close to the Torah, and having a synergy between the spiritual desires of our congregants and the artistic realization of our architects. Nearly 2 decades before the spaceship behemoth that is the Apple headquarters opened. This is not going to be that, don't worry. Steve Jobs helped design the headquarters for Pixar Studios. He designed it with intention, and he put all of the bathrooms in a central location. And he also created an atrium in this headquarters. People thought it would be a waste of space. But in this atrium, animators, graphic designers, writers, producers, actors, everyone was forced to pass through it. They would run into each other. They would have chance encounters, which led to synergy. Brad Bird, the genius behind some of my favorite movies like The Incredibles and Ratatouille, said, "The atrium initially seemed like a waste of space, but Steve realized that when people run into each other, when they make eye contact, things happen. In this age of Zooms and streaming, masks and distance, it could be easy for us to forget what we have lost. And this is what we have lost and what we are seeking to return to. We are building a great Beit Knesset, a home for gathering. We are not building a museum to a Jewish community frozen in amber at a specific point in mid-20th century. We are not building an auditorium where an audience sits and listens to a great performance, careful not to clap between movements. We are not building a sculpture where visitors walk around oohing and eyeing at the outside, inspired, uplifted, or just cheered by wisdom. Our building needs to be like that Pixar building, a place of great chance encounters, a place of Jewish synergy. We are a people with a practice. We are a people of both and, not either or. We have always been the people of artists and writers, selfless saints and justice warriors, textual scholars and singing poets. None of these activities live in silos. They influence one another. They make our Judaism more rich. This space needs to become that place for the next great Jewish ideas to occur. And I welcome every person here and your relatives and your friends and the people who you don't know yet to come help us build that great gathering that will take place inside the walls of the new sanctuary. Together, it will be a place of gathering, but also uplift. I can't wait for the weddings and the B'nai Mitzvah, the baby welcomings, the guest speakers, the musical recitals, the community celebrations, and yes, I'm even looking forward to the tears for healing and the comfort for mourning. All of these events will be uplifted by this space that we are all building together. I want to give a special thank you today to Ron Kopakin, who will be speaking in a bit, who tirelessly asked so many people to give again, and then to give a little bit more. Ron, it is a testament to your love of this synagogue and your families and your commitment to leadership that has helped us reach this moment. Thank you. And if everybody is afraid to have lunch with you again after this project is finished, I'll still have lunch with you. I'm grateful to Vernon Pulaski, who's here today. You were such wonderful tzedakah whisperers during this process. Thank you. Thank you to all the members of our clergy and our staff and our faculty and our dedicated volunteers on all of our committees that kept Beth Shalom so vibrant week in and week out while we worked on this project. I'm grateful today for the gift of Mrs. Krumholtz of blessed memory, who knew that our congregation would need a place to gather, to pray, to weep, and to celebrate. Grateful for the challenge grant from the Soslan Family Foundation, which inspired hundreds of our congregants to participate, and the transformational gift of the Jaime and Vivian Soslan Foundation. I never had the chance to know Jaime, but I have been told of how important prayer, ritual, and synagogue life was to him. So I pray that this project gives his memory a blessing. I'm remembering today also Ronnie Goldsmith, who, as Gina mentioned, was at every meeting early in the morning from the very start of this project, and he left us this spring. Literally on his deathbed, he was asking me about the granular details of this project and how we were handling some of the more technical financial issues. I know how proud he would be of our entire congregation this morning. I'm grateful for the many generations that came before us, schlepping kids back when it was 3 days a week for Hebrew school. The vision and the courage of past presidents and grandparents and parents who wanted to create a center for Jewish life in the center of the country. I'm humbled by the strength of generations of Jewish immigrants. Jews that came from Germany in the 1800s, Eastern Europe in the late 1800s and early 1900s, survivors of the Shoah in the middle of the 20th century, the ones that fled the Soviet Union and Arab lands in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and the transplants from other Jewish communities, like we are, and the members of our community who themselves are immigrants to Judaism because they might have been born in a different faith or tradition. Our community is enriched by the tapestry of different paths that brought us here. And I'm so grateful for the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of families and foundations who made meaningful gifts to this project. So many of us made the single largest pledge of any charitable gift to make this happen. Before the Burns and Mac gigantic thing was built at 95th and Mornall, Greg Graves, the former CEO of Burns & McDonnell, invited me to do a tour of our old sanctuary before they tore it down and built their offices. And there is a prayer when you see a destroyed synagogue. It was just me and Greg and the non-Jewish construction workers with their hard hats, all of us standing there rather, in the lobby. And I said the blessing for seeing a destroyed synagogue. But now there's another blessing that we say. And there's a special blessing in our tradition when you see a rebuilt synagogue. I'm going to say it now with the prayer and the hope for what's to come. Baruch Meitziv Gavul Almanah. Blessed is the one who sets a limit for widowhood. There is a limit to sadness, and there's a time for rebirth and celebration once again. I pray that our work leading up to this point, this special moment in time, make our grandparents proud and our grandchildren proud. May this work be one of continued rebirth for us today, and also for our children, and also for the children of others. And let us say, Amen. I'm going to invite Jeff Alpert, the chair of our building committee, to talk about the planning for our future.
Thank you very much, Rabbi. Nobody should ever have to follow the rabbi, but it's a lot I chose, I guess. Really, more than 20 years ago, I was privileged to lead a group of very dedicated congregants and additional professionals who identified this location as the opportunity for a new special ed campus, and then take the next step and get a design put together and get it built. That was a privilege for me then, and today I am honored to now be a part of the committee charged with adding a new sacred space to our campus and completing a vision, or at least the next step in a vision that was begun really more than 20 years ago. So now it's really the mundane activity of completing the design of our building and getting it built. Working very diligently with our architects and contractor, we've reached what we call in the business the 50% DD point, or design development, where we take the schematic design, the vision of our sacred space, and go through all the details in order to make sure that it'll work, it can get built, and it can get built with the funds that we have to build it. We are in that point now. We are working out the details for our structural design, our mechanical systems, things like the aesthetic design details, all the things that will make it a beautiful sacred space for our congregation. We will be paying particularly great attention to things like sustainability, maintenance. We're working very hard to make sure in this day and age it's a secure facility, and we are always at every step of the way very cognizant of our costs. We will be submitting our application for our city of Overland Park approvals this coming month, where we'll go through a preliminary development plan approval and a final development plan approval. Once we get that and know that we have the city's blessing, we will be completing the design drawings and the construction drawings so that we are ready to submit our plans for building permit and get ready to actually build the building. Once again, with an eye toward cost. Then we're hoping that we can actually begin construction late spring. And hopefully a year from that point, I hope I can join all of you and present the keys to this wonderful new addition to our campus. So thank you all very much.
Good morning to everybody. It's so nice to finally be up here to talk about the things which we shared with most of you as we were visiting with you on a one-on-one basis. I would like to share with all of you how I got involved with our campaign. I raised my hand and really to ask a question, and the next thing I remember, I was asked to chair the capital campaign for our sacred space. When my friend Ron Goldsmith recommended me to head the fundraising, he must have felt I was the right person since he trained me when we were co-chairs of the campaign for this current building. I felt very good about raising the money of our sacred space for two reasons. Number one was at this time, we were going out and making ask with a generous match from the Sossom Family Foundation, which we did not have when we built the school building. Number two, we already had $1.5 million in the bank from Mrs. Krumholz that Rabbi Cohen spoke about and Rabbi Gleckman also. I formed a fundraising committee in June of 2019. And shortly after, we hired Vernon Pawlowski to build a fundraising plan together and to lead us toward our goal. I'm excited, like everyone else is, to report we're just shy of $13 million from over 350 families. We began our solicitation and were right on target with our early goals we had set. And from nowhere came something called a pandemic. With no prior experience with a pandemic, the leadership of the congregation had to figure out how we could safely serve our membership. We felt that fundraising was no longer a priority, and we needed to redirect our efforts in reaching out to our membership and put all fundraising efforts on hold. I'm sure everyone remembers 401ks that looked like 201ks, which was not good for fundraising. Several months later, when we restarted the campaign, the fundraising committee began meeting with congregants in a different way. On Zoom, or in some cases, outdoor meetings on driveways and patios. Many long-term members of Beth Shalom once again were sharing with us great memories that they had of Beth Shalom. Fast forward to today, and we are all here to break ground on our beautiful new sanctuary. When we set the date for the groundbreaking, I was a little nervous what the weather would be like on November the 21st. But maybe our friend Ron Goldsmith took care of us on that, for we have this gorgeous, gorgeous day for our groundbreaking today. In a few minutes, we will all be going outside to participate in the groundbreaking. I'm going to give you kind of some logistics of what's going to happen outside. We're all going to proceed through the double doors down by the restroom, file outside. We have limited seating, but please, if you'd like a chair, please help yourself. The Polsky Religious School will sing, and then I will ask the major donors and leaders to join me for the groundbreaking photos. After the formal ceremony, I invite the members with the photo pass to form a line once they have their families together. And quickly, we will get everyone who wants a photo through the line so that no one misses the football game, the second most important event today. Any other member that would like to then take a photo, we welcome you to do that. And then please enjoy the treats that are available to us. Thank you all very much for coming today. Ready to.
Good, thanks. Thank you, Ron. I would like to think that Ronnie Goldtooth is not only watching over our weather for today, but also maybe having some influence on his beloved Chiefs against the Cowboys. So we're going to go out at this time, and as Ron said, there are seats available. They are limited, and we have a mix in our tradition. We stand before those who may need a chair. And so if you see people who need a chair, give them first preference.
You know what we're gonna do next? What we didn't get to do this morning is Mo Daddy. Mo Daddy. Everybody.
Go ahead, Beth. Where is he? He's got like an orange coupon and a blue
Okay, friends, there is space if you want to come around. There are chairs. If you need a seat, there are some chairs for folks who need to sit. Are the rabbi and the president outside yet? Oh, rabbi, great, fantastic. Rabbi and Jason.
I just want to say that what you see before us, as well as the over 90 children in our Rose Early Childhood Center, this is the reason why we are building this. And guys who are here, for anyone here who's in 4th grade and younger, we can't wait to celebrate your part on mitzvahs in the new sanctuary. And for 5th grade and older, we can't wait to celebrate your confirmation in the sanctuary. And for all of you, we are just looking forward to celebrating Shabbat and holidays and happy times together. We'll turn it over to Hazan.
There is a very long-standing tradition that when you enter a house of prayer, the first prayer that you say are the words of the conjurer Bilam. When Bilam saw all of us camped out in the wilderness, and Bilam was supposed to make a curse, and instead Bilam said, "Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov." And so that's the first song we're going to sing for you today. Ready, guys? Polsky Religious School. We are walking that way, behind the crowd, back to Goldsmith Hall. Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
Kids, back to Goldsmith Hall. Parents, help pick your kids up in Goldsmith Hall, please.
If your parents are here and they're grabbing you, parents come and grab your children now, and all the others go and walk to the Goldsmith Hall, please.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much.
I'm like, where do these?
Oh my god.
Okay, I'm going to turn the mic over for one moment to Ron Kopakin to invite our first group for our photographs up, and then I'm going to say a blessing for the first shovels, and then we'll sing Simon Tov and Mazel Tov after our first group, and then we'll have subsequent pictures for who's here.
First of all, where are the shovels? Okay. All right, while the shovels are on their way up here, I'd like to invite everyone who I've spoken to about joining us, the dignitaries and honorees today, to please join us behind the dirt. And as they're coming up here, I'd like to talk about two special people who are going to be included in this group. The first person that is part of this group is Maxine Grossman, who is our oldest donor to the campaign. She reminded me that she still drives. I'm not sure what that means, but she wanted me to know that she still drives. Our youngest person who is joining us today is Abe Kushna, and he is representing his sister, Vivian, who is the youngest donor to our campaign. So if all of you will join us up here, we're going to do our ceremonial picture up here, and then it's open to our family shots. What's it? And the Soslands, yes, Neil and Blanche, please come up along with Josh and Debbie. Susie and Michelle, are you up there with that? Yes. Larry and Larry.
Everybody got a picture.
Shovelers, move in front of our Hollywood red carpet sign, please. And I'm going to say a special prayer for all of us in a special moment that I wrote for this day. Builder of builders and master architect of the universe, as we construct a building inspired by your Torah and housing your Torah, let this place that we are building grow in love, in commitment, in kindness, and in justice. Just as the light of the sun will stream through our windows that we are going to build, let the light from our congregation spread out to our community. Let us together build a home for gathering, a home for Torah, a home for prayer. But most of all, let us truly build together a Beit Shalom, a home for peace. And let us all say, Amen. All right, I've never done this before, so Ron, you gotta tell me how we do this. Okay, if you can fit on the carpet, it'll be a better picture if we all fit on the actual carpet. Shorter people in the front, less short people in the back. We don't have any, except except for Josh Sosland, we don't have any legitimately tall people in this picture.
Hey Lou, how are you? Thank you. You too.
Thank you to our first group. We're going to be doing different groups of photos at this point. I want to thank everybody today who's come, and if you'd like to stay to be able to have your picture taken, there. I think that Ron is organizing an order of all of the photographs, and you can just ask Ron or Steph Williams to be in line for a photo. Thank you.
Over here.
Sure, no, not right there, up there. Are they hurting each other? You guys ready? All right, we're up.
Wait, we don't need these.
For anybody who wants, there are treats in the building. So please help yourself either before or after your picture. You shouldn't go hungry. Oh, they're outside. They're out right outside the door to the building. But either way, you shouldn't go hungry.
Really?
Get in here, Karen. Thank you. Okay, look there. Micah Marie. I'm just thinking, do you want one of our family apartments? I think we should do one really.
Your dad home?
Where'd they go? Bad.
You don't have to. I just leave it there.
Very nice to meet you. Yeah, we met before. Shimon outside. Nice to see you. Yeah, I told my dad to just apply for this for the kids. There we go. Good shot.
Guys, look, stand back here. Okay, hold on. Okay, guys, just hold it for the picture. Look there. Thank you. It's okay. Okay, guys, come on, leave it. You're gonna get dirt on it. No. Thank you, guys. Thank you again. Where do you want to be guys out this? You have to move all this dirt now? No. It's a good question. The last people have. That's right.
Okay, I'll round up the staff after this. Beautiful picture. Can you round up my?
Yeah. Sure. Go for it.
Yes.
Please. So Morgan is in Cambridge.
Well, it's bumping up to lunch too. People are probably like ready to eat. Woo! We did it! I love it. Maybe we should turn off. Yeah, 11 people were still watching the last bunch of folks taking pictures, which I thought was interesting that they wanted to watch all the. Yeah, I told you there was like a